Hey everybody, it's Galmadex, and it is officially the launch of Strixhaven. Time to get into our first premiere draft of the format. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've of course got 5 different schools in this format, all focused around different enemy-colored pairs. We have Silver Quill and White Black, Quandrix in green blue, Lorehold red white, Witherbloom green black, and Prismari in blue red. No Prismari cards in this pack. We also have the Mystical Archive, bringing back a powerful instant or sorcery from the game's past in a cool new artwork in every single booster, so it's going to be a really cool format overall. Here I think I'm just going to take the powerful modal card here, Shale, Dean of Radiance, or Embrose, Dean of Shadow. Both halves of this card are quite powerful. 2 mana for a 1/1 flying Vigilance, and then you can tap this to put counters on every creature that enters the battlefield from that point on is really good. It's kind of like an Anthem effect for the rest of your field, and because it has Vigilance, you can still poke your opponent for 1 every turn and still use that ability. And then Embrose can be just a threat on their own. 4 mana for a 4/4 is a decent sized creature, and you can draw some cards whenever your creatures with counters die, and you can make your creatures bigger if they have enough toughness. You put 1/1/1 counter on them, but then you deal 2 damage to that creature. So I think both halves of this card are quite solid, so we're happy to start with just the white-black, the Silver Quill modal card there. And because both of the halves of this card are monocolored, we could play this in Lorehold or Witherbloom. We don't have to necessarily be Silver Quill to run that. So here, our special card, our Mystical Archive card, is Compulsive Research. Draw 3, then discard 1. Could be a pretty good draw spell, however, it's not going to work with white or black here. You definitely want to end up in one of the colleges, and blue-white, blue-black, and neither of those pan out there. I think Tome Shredder is a pretty powerful common creature for like a Lorehold deck. This can exile things from your graveyard, and a lot of the Lorehold cards care about removing things from your graveyard over time, and this is just probably the best common red creature in the first place, just for any deck. The other main mechanic in this format is just instants and sorceries in general. There's going to be a lot of those in most of the decks. There are cards with Magecraft that care about casting or copying instants or sorceries. So cards like Tome Shredder should be solid because most of your decks will end up just being a pile of creatures and a lot of instants and sorceries as well. Let's see what these cards in Silver Quill are here. Enchant a non-land permanent, can't do anything, but for 3 mana they can just destroy that. That seems pretty unplayable in Limited, just a temporary removal of something, a very temporary one. Humiliate here. Target opponent reveals their hand, choose a non-land card from it, make them discard it, and put a counter on one of your creatures. That actually seems solid here. That seems like a fine Silver Quill card to take. I think I like that better than the Owlin Shield Mage. 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer is a little bit below rate, and they do have to pay 3 life to target this with something to go ahead and remove this, but that's not a huge cost. So basically just a 5 mana 3/3 flyer there, a little below curve. I think I like Humiliate better. If this couldn't make them discard creatures, it wouldn't be so good, but the fact that it can hit any non-land seems solid to me. Emergent Sequence actually seems like a great ramp card for green. You grab one of your lands out of your deck, and you make it a 2/2 if you played a land this turn, or a 1/1 if you didn't. So that seems like a really solid card, although it's not in our current colors. Essence Infusion could be alright. In Silver Quill, you do have a lot of cards that care about +1/+1 counters, as you can tell from both our modal rare and our uncommon here. If we take Essence Infusion, every Silver Quill card we have cares about +1/+1 counters. Yeah, Crushing Disappointment doesn't seem great. Just 4 mana, draw 2. I think the campuses are pretty great, and you probably want to take them relatively highly, but I'm thinking Emergent Sequence just seems like the strongest card of this pack, and I'll scoop that up here, maybe be open to going Witherbloom here. Green-black running Embrose. Now what do we have? Hunt for specimens, get a pest and learn. Definitely fine for Witherbloom. Witherbloom creates pest tokens, and the pest tokens do everything you want to do in Witherbloom. You want to sacrifice creatures, so they're good at getting sacrificed, and you want to gain some life. They gain life as well, so Hunt for Specimens is solid if you get any lessons to learn for. Witherbloom Pledge Mage, 5 mana 5/5, gain some life off of it. Professor's Warning, just a little combat trick. Or we have like a colorless lesson, so if we get any learn cards, we can search for that. I don't think the white cards here are all that great. Although Returned Past Caller seems like a solid lore hold card here. Yeah, when it enters the battlefield, return a spirit, instant, or sorcery from grave, and it's a 4/2 flyer. Yeah. We have now Tome Shredder, Returned Past Caller, and Shale towards a lore hold deck. That would be red-white. So I think that's a decent start towards that. What do we have here? Fervent Mastery. For 5 mana, search your library for 3 cards, put them into your hand, then discard 3 cards at random. Ooh, this seems definitely not consistent enough to play in limited, but certainly a fun commander card. Thrill of Possibilities, okay, it's some card filtering. Sudden Breakthrough seems alright. In Prismari, you have a bunch of really expensive like instants and sorceries to cast, so the treasure token's fine there, but we're not going to be Prismari. If we're playing red, we're going to be Lorehold, which Lorehold might be somewhat aggressive. I think the Pledge Mage just seems the best here. 3 mana, 2/2 first strike that can get bigger, although Frost Trickster is probably the best card in the pack. We're pretty far from playing blue here. What do we have now? Just a mediocre lesson here, so if we pick up any learn cards, we have something to grab at least. That could be the choice here. So right now, we're kind of just lore hold, and we could splash in like 1 Humiliate, I guess, but Humiliate's not really the kind of card you want to splash. Definitely between lore hold and Silver Quill right now. We'll see how things pan out. Zephyr Boots could be a solid equipment in most decks. Give something flying, and whenever that hits somebody, you get to draw a card and discard a card. It gives you a looting effect to draw into what you want. It's also colorless, so either way we go, we'll be solid here. I don't think the Stone Rise Spirit is that great, just a 2 mana 1/2 flyer with an okay late game ability. Definitely better if you have stuff to combo with it, stuff that cares about things leaving your graveyard. This seems like a really weak lesson. Just a 1 damage to something or destroy an artifact. But the thing about lessons is because they go in your sideboard, you can really search for the right kind of effect at the right time. I think with Shale, Tome Shredder, and Lorehold Pledge Mage, we have a good start to like an aggressive Lorehold deck. So I'm thinking Sudden Breakthrough might be an alright combat trick here. And we can try to just draft a lot of creatures so that Shale gets a lot of value out of that +1/+1 effect. Could be an interesting start here. Thrilling Discovery seems like maybe a just slightly better Thrill of Possibility, so that's kind of fun. Dragon's Approach seems pretty much unplayable. It just does 3 to an opponent. That's all it does. We got Cogwork, Archivist. If we need like a 6-drop, we can run that, but we don't. We're kind of looking to be somewhat aggressive here with our good early creatures, and we already have 1 6-mana card, so I don't really want to take another right now. I'll just take a Thrilling Discovery. And it would be on flavor to end up in my college of choice in the first draft here if we can get into Lorehold. We have Mascot Interception. Gain control of a creature, give it +2/+0 and haste. This seems not great in this format unless you're somehow in red-black, and that should not happen because red-black is not one of the colleges. Take the Stone Rise Spirit just to help the creature curve a bit, but I think that 4 mana 1/5 reach might be a little bit of a better card overall. Guiding Voice might be okay with enough lessons. Just put a counter on a creature and draw a lesson. Without it, though, I think Blood Age General is good in Lorehold. Lorehold is going to be the college with the most spirits. We have Returned Past Caller right now. No other spirits yet. Actually, no, we got a Spirit Bird. So we have 2 spirits right now, and we're likely to be able to pick up some more throughout. And the worst case scenario on Blood Age General is it's a 2 mana 2/2, which is fine. And I don't think we're playing any of these cards. Yeah, I'll just take the Essence Infusion in case we get pulled back into like a Silver Quill aggro deck. Square Up seems really bad. It's like a worse Titanic Growth, and Titanic Growth was never that exciting. Alright. Well, Prismari Command makes me want to splash that. I mean, this card is incredibly powerful. 3 mana at instant speed, deal 2 to any target, and draw 2, discard 2. That's what you'll be doing most of the time, but the fact that it has 4 modes and you choose any 2 makes it even better than that spell would be, and that spell would already be insane. So, you know, potentially sometimes they have a good artifact out, so you just deal 2 to something and kill an artifact, or sometimes you just have this in the late game, you're in a kind of a board stall, so you just draw 2 and destroy an artifact. I don't know. The vast majority of the time, just deal 2 to a target, draw 2, discard 2 is going to be just fantastic. And there's nothing like great in Lorehold here. I think the best cards would maybe be the spirits here, like Pilgrim of the Ages or maybe Pillar Drop. Maybe even Enthusiastic Study if we're aggressive, because it also learns when we use that as a combat trick. I'm going to take the Prismari command here. Now I'm looking more towards trying to splash in blue than splash in black. If we can get a splash going on here. Ooh, Ingenious Inspiration seems incredible. 3 mana for a sorcery to deal 3 to any target and learn. So 3 mana to kill something and, you know, quote unquote draw a card. You draw a weak card. Lessons are generally weaker than regular cards, but still seems solid there. Show of Confidence is really weird to me. I don't know if this is going to be that good. It's a Storm card. Copy it for each instant and sorcery you've cast this turn. But by itself, it's just 1 counter. It seems not great. Like, really have to go off for it to go crazy. But I've seen that multiple times, and it is in our colors. We are white, so I just wanted to take another look at it. Yeah, it's going to be Inspiration here, but I do like Pilgrim, Lorehold, Pledge Mage, Spirit Summoning, because we don't have any lessons yet, do we? Yeah, we definitely want to pick up some lessons now that we've got a great learn spell. Ooh, I'm just going to take a Returned Past color out of here. Although there's Combat Professor as well. That's a difficult choice. Returned Past color would be a little bit more likely to wheel because it is multicolored, whereas Combat Professor is just a fantastic card. There's no way this is wheeling if anybody's in white, because by itself it's a 4 mana 3/3 Flying Vigilance. It's like a slightly smaller Sarah Angel, which is pretty fantastic. And with other creatures it gets even better, because then you can just buff up whatever needs the buff. If your opponent doesn't have any flyers, you don't really need to give this any extra power. It's going to hit them for 2 in the sky, whereas if you have like a 3/3 on the board and they have a 4 toughness creature, you can buff your 3/3 into a 4/3 so that can attack in on the ground while this is chipping away in the sky. No, I'm just going to take Combat Professor here. I think that card seems just pretty bonkers. And Returned Past color might actually wheel. It's not a great chance. So this pack is not great for us. We just have like Guiding Voice or the Biblioplex. And we are trying to splash in blue, so colorless lands do hurt us a decent amount here. This is like late in the game. If you have 0 cards in hand, you can start using this to try to draw any instant sorceries off the top. It's definitely solid if your mana's good. Right now our mana's not great. I think I'm just going to take Expanded Anatomy here, so at least worst case scenario I have something to grab off of our learn spells, although that is not a great lesson. Reconstruct History. You return a bunch of stuff from your graveyard to your hand, but it doesn't return the most important card type. It does not return a creature. So you just get an instant sorcery, enchantments, planeswalker, artifact. Yeah, we're very unlikely to get a lot of value out of that. That's just going to return at most 2 cards, just an instant sorcery in this deck. This seems pretty bad here. Another Combat Professor seems like a really solid choice here, although there's also Elemental Summoning, which would be a much better lesson to be able to pick up. A 5 mana 4/4 is a card I'm a little more excited about than just putting 2 counters on something. It also gives us more options in terms of lessons, but Combat Professor is just so good, I don't think I can pass it up. Another Lorehold Pledge Mage. Let's see how our creature curve's looking. Alright, we definitely want more creatures. We've got 8 right now, trying to be somewhat aggressive. So we could take a Pledge Mage here. We could also take Twin Scroll Shaman. It's okay with pump spells, although we don't have a lot of those. We just have the 1 Sudden Breakthrough, I think. Could also take Reduce to Memory as another lesson. Could be good in specific situations. Just go with the Pledge Mage, though. We are definitely looking for creatures. This is definitely a format that I think my pick orders will change dramatically over time as I get more familiar with it. But for now, we're kind of just doing the basic Lorehold thing. Expel to exile a tapped creature seems solid. Lorehold Apprentice doesn't seem great. We don't have a ton of spirits, And this really does very little. It's hard to cast 2 mana 2/2 because it requires 2 specific colors of mana. And then the best it does is let your spirits chip away for a couple damage. Yeah, that does not seem that great. I'm actually just more interested in the Illustrious Historian than that card here. Not super interested in an Expel because we have some other decent removal here like Inspiration Prismari Command, and we're trying to be aggressive, so we'd rather be able to kill untapped creatures if possible, although Expel is still probably one of the better removal spells in the format. Take a Pilgrim of the Ages now. It's another spirit, grabs a plains when we play it, so it kind of replaces itself, although there is a good pump spell here, Enthusiastic Study, that we could be interested in. Definitely like taking more lessons here. Just grab the Spirit Summoning so we have more cards to learn for. Ooh, I don't know what happened there. Oops. I accidentally vanished the card entirely. So we have Blood Age General, give our attacking spirits +1/+0. We have Stonebound Mentor, 3 mana 3/3. We can scry when we're getting things back from the grave. Doesn't happen super often in this deck, so that doesn't seem awesome. We have that flyer there. I'll just take the Blood Age General. Starting to scoop up a decent amount of spirits here. Well, we're not going to do Reconstruct History. Well, I'm actually really happy to see Elemental Summoning this late, because it just gives me another card to learn for. Sure, the card doesn't look very good, but none of the lessons are that great by themselves. They're mainly just give you good value when you have cards to learn for them, like Professor of Symbology here. How many lessons do we have now that are like decent? We have Spirit Summoning, and Expanded Enemy, and Elemental Summoning. So we have 3 lessons. How many learn cards do we have? 1. Yeah, we got 3 lessons, only 1 learn card. I'm pretty happy to take a Professor of Symbology here. 2 mana 2/1 and we learn, so kind of a 2 mana 2/1 and we just draw a slightly below average card. Pretty solid there. Even if we've run out of lessons, we can discard a card and draw a card off of this instead. That is the backup plan. Yeah, not taking this over much else. Happy to take a Professor of Symbology here. Another Spirit Summoning for more cards to learn for. Silver Quill Pledge Mage, kind of hard to cast in our deck. We do need double white and 1. Whenever we cast instants or sorceries, we get flying or lifelink. That seems okay in aggro with a lot of instant sorceries. Just give it flying to keep chipping at them for 3. What is this? Search your library for a card. Put it into your graveyard. So it's kind of like a big creature, but it's a slow big creature. It starts as a 3/3, and then over time it'll become like a 6/6. Seems like a good game ender for a slower deck, but not really what we're looking for. I am just checking if the black rare is something insane, we could take it and then splash in black instead of blue. Yeah, I'm just going to take, I think, another lesson for like specific situations here. Take the reduced memory. Or I guess there's the blue-red duel we'd be interested in too. Probably should have taken the blue-red duel to make the Prismari Command an easier splash so we don't have to run cards like the Letter of Acceptance here as mana fixing. Six mana, exile a creature, and learn. Pretty slow, but I mean, it's still removal, and we've got a good chunk of lessons right now to be learning for, so I think it's fine here. Fuming Effigy might be better, just a 4 mana 4/3, and it will very occasionally deal damage to our opponent, like whenever we exile our Historian. How's our creatures going? We only have 14 creatures. I'll actually just take a Fuming Effigy here instead. That other removal spell was a 6 mana removal spell, so pretty expensive there. I'm going to take the Prismari Campus here that I should have taken earlier. Definitely want to be able to cast this Prismari command as consistently as possible. Although Stonerise Spirit's an option as well, because we are still looking for more creatures. Want to get up to like 18 in this deck probably, if possible. It's also a decent lesson here. Exile an online permanent. Its controller draws a card. I think I like the Stonebound Mentor here. 3 mana 3/3. Let's see the other stuff. Oh, another Combat Professor? Never mind. Combat Professor it shall be. Enthusiastic Study would be a good wheel for us. Got a lot of lessons to learn into and a somewhat aggressive deck for pump spells and stuff. If that doesn't wheel, Stonebound Mentor is a solid wheel, or the Introduction to Prophecy for just more options in the lesson board. Environmental Sciences is another option for lessons to take, or we have a good Blood Age General here. Decent amount of spirits, and it's a 2-mana 2/2 on curve. We also have Defend the Campus to destroy a big creature, a power 4 or greater creature, or give the field +1/+1. We have 16 creatures now. I think I'm pretty chill with a Blood Age General again. Pillar Drop Rescuer. This could be fine. We have a lot of creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less, or mana value 3 or less, my bad, that we could return with this in the late game. We already have a good amount of lessons, so I'm not super high on Spirit Summoning. We already have 2 Thrilling Discoveries, and I don't know how much we're wanting to play those, and a 2-mana 1/4 is not really for an aggressive deck, although I guess it is a Spirit, so we can give it +1/+0, which is mildly interesting. We have the Lorehold Apprentice. How many spirits do we have now? We have 8 spirits. Maybe Lorehold Apprentice is actually okay, but it only really works if the board gets stalled. Then we can use them to tap to do a damage to our opponent. If our board doesn't get stalled, we're just attacking with our spirits anyway. We do have a lot of 2, not a bunch of 3, maybe Stone Mentor, but there was another one that we saw that might wheel, so hopefully that does occur. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it gains haste until end of turn, and then learn. So if you draw like a small creature late game, this is okay, I guess. You also have a nice little pump spell that gets a treasure. I like the pump spell or the Divine Gambit here. Take the pump spell, I guess. Divine Gambit, because it's good at the like late game. Once your opponent only has like 1 card left in hand, Divine Gambit is not really going to dump anything on their field, so it just exiles whatever you need to, which seems fine. Now we're just taking a bunch of off-color cards. It looks like we are not going to wheel that 3-mana Lorehold card, unfortunately. So we don't get to play around with that thing. I am not familiar with all the names yet. This is my very first time playing the format. Well, it's in our colors, but we're not playing it. I'll just throw it in the sideboard. Add it to my collection here. Take another Letter of Acceptance. We could run a couple of those maybe to help splash the command. We'll see when we get to deck building here. All right. We need to cut 5 cards. We have 19 creatures, so I don't super want to cut creatures unless I have something like really bad in here. Star People doesn't seem great, but at least like when it dies, it just gives something else a permanent buff. So that's like a maybe here. Yeah, I could see just cutting the 1-drop. Just leave everything else in terms of creatures. Then we'd cut the letters. Then we need 2 more cuts. We have 2 cards that make treasure tokens here, the Sudden Breakthroughs that help splash in the blue, which is nice for the Prismari command. I could cut the Thrilling Discoveries, because they seem a little slow for an aggressive deck, and we have like Zephyr Boots here to be drawing discarding if we can get that going off. Prismari command draws 2, discards 2, so we have like a little bit of draw in here even without them. We have some recursion with Pillar Drop Rescuer and Return Pass Caller. We have a little bit of card draw from Learn spells like Professor of Symbology and I know there's more. Oh, Ingenious Inspiration. Although I guess we are going to a pretty low instant sorcery count, which definitely makes our Magecraft cards and our Tome Shredder a bit worse. So that could be a bit of a thing. Yeah, that actually... Yeah, with Magecraft and stuff, even though Zephyr Boots would be so good in most formats, it might be a little worse in this format just because of Magecraft, Tome Shredder, cards like that want a lot of instants and sorceries in your deck. I do think I am good with just cutting these Thrilling Discoveries, though. Running this deck, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 blue sources. Because we have those treasure tokens as well. Prismari Command, I mean, it is a really good card, but I guess it's not like the strongest splash ever because it's not like super high impact. I could even see actually cutting that and just throwing Star People back in. And then our mana base is just very consistent. Yeah. This card is so cool, but it's only like really good when you cast it really early, and when you're splashing, you can't consistently cast your splash cards early. They have to be the kind of cards that are like really big impact in the late game as well. This is like solid in the late game, but not incredible. Yeah, we'll just go with a basic Lorehold build here. Throw on our Lorehold sleeves for sure. Oh, they don't work right now. Well, never mind. Looks like specifically only the Strixhaven sleeves are not working right now. For the launch of Strixhaven, that's a little embarrassing, but it happens. Well then. Oh no, my extra life sleeves aren't working either. Well, then I guess I'll just use like Liliana. Alright, so let's get started in our gameplay of the very first Strixhaven Premier Draft. Or my very first Strixhaven Premier Draft. We can go offline real quick here. If Arena will allow me. We're up against Meddling Mage. That might be Chris Pakula, I'm not sure. A pro player. Well, this is a great start. Shale, Combat Professor, Lorehold Apprentice. We have a sudden breakthrough to get a treasure to cast Combat Professor, even if we don't hit a land. Definitely keeping this. They start with a mountain. We'll start with a plains. What does the book do? Ooh, it opens up on Silver Quill. That's really cool. Okay. I like just starting with the Shale here. Start chipping away for 1 damage a turn, and every creature we play for the rest of the game is just bigger. Next turn is going to be really good. We get to play like Historian and Star People, put a counter on both of those. Star People with an additional counter is great because then it moves both of the +1/+1 counters onto something else. So if they don't kill Shale here immediately, Shale's going to be doing some really nice work. I like this music, it's very mysterious. Okay, they are just going to kill Shale. Well, that is unfortunate. Still curve out a little bit, so they grabbed an Inkling Summoning, so they get a 2/1 flyer. I think I'd rather play Historian and Star Pupil than Lorehold Apprentice and Star Pupil, because Historian can trade into the Blood Age General and we don't feel bad about it because this can come back later as a 3/2 for 5 mana. Whereas if we trade our Lorehold Apprentice into their 2/2 on blocks, that's just a bad deal all around. They're going to cast that Inkling Summoning, get a 2/1 flyer here. Alright, this is an easy Combat Professor. Buff the Star Pupil, so anything that attacks in is trading. And send in with both. Because we're definitely on the aggro now that we got a Combat Professor out here. Teach us your ways, Professor. go offline now, just in case anybody wants to challenge me or something. So our opponent is deciding blocks here. We are going to trade with the Star Pupil here. So Combat Professor is already big enough to attack into a 2/1 flyer. And I don't really want to put all my eggs in one basket. Like, because if I put the counter on there, then they're just going to want to kill it even more. However, Illustrious Historian is already a card that we kind of want to die, so it's okay that it's small. And it's, if I give it another counter, it can't like beat the Inkling or anything. I don't know, here I guess I do have Sudden Breakthrough to like cheese him out with Historian. But I can do that even without the counter going there. I guess I'll put it on Combat Professor. I mean, if they have another like 3 damage spell, then it saves Professor from that. But I have a feeling they'll probably have some removal that'll kill it either way. There is a common that does 4 damage in red. Professor of Symbology coming in hot. Let's see what they learn here. Grab Expanded Anatomy. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature, give it Vigilance till end of turn. Alright, make their flyer quite big here. So it's big enough to trade into the Combat Professor, even after we put a counter on it. I'm not going to block here. I think we'll go for a Sudden Breakthrough, and if they don't take the bait on it, we'll just cast Combat Professor post-combat and lose out on the 1 damage there. Now both are big enough to trade into the Inkling if they block there. So we will trade for the Professor here. Might even be interested in just making the 3/2. Yeah, but I'd rather have a 3/2 or just have another Combat Professor out right now. When 3/2 does just as much damage and it attacks in without a buff to be able to trade it with the Inkling, I'll just make a 3/2. Seems fine to me. Because now next turn, even if I don't draw another land, I can cast a Sudden Breakthrough, use the treasure token to cast Combat Professor post-combat. And if I do draw another land, I can cast the Professor pre-combat and still hold up Sudden Breakthrough. So we'll use the more expensive ability here. It puts just as much damage on this board. Alright, well, I'm less interested in the whole prospect of racing here on the ground. I got a 2/1 and a 3/3, so they just trade the 2/1 into the 3/2 and then bring it back over and over again with a 6-mana ability. I don't really want another flyer right now. I think I just chip in for 4 with Combat Professor and then hold up my Sudden Breakthrough for blocks. Just cast like a Lorehold Apprentice or something here. Now we can go for a block on the flyer with our Combat Professor, try to get that Sudden Breakthrough to go off, and we can even chip away with 1 damage with our Spirit thanks to the Magecraft ability on Lorehold Apprentice. Heated debate. Gonna go ahead and deal 4 to our combat professor. And that'll do it. Trading with the Pilgrim of Ages does seem pretty bad here. Although I could trade a sudden breakthrough into it, and then I have enough mana to cast Blood Age General and Combat Professor next turn. Sure. They do have to spend all of their mana just to put that back in their hand if they want to do it next turn, so that stops them from doing anything else, but they do scry with the Stonebound Mentor there. Zephyr Boots is a great draw. We can have our 3-2 trade into their 4-3 now if we give it flying, and they don't have a removal spell. It does cost 3 mana to do, so I can only cast Blood Age General if Zephyr Boots is the plan. Because if I cast Combat Professor, I only have 2 mana up. I could cast the Boots, but I can't equip them immediately. I think I am on the Combat Professor plan here. And we just take 4 for a turn, because then I can get aggressive on them here. They don't have good blocks. Just make a trade. I guess I do die to a burn spell this way, which is not awesome. But I don't think there's many burn spells that can damage the face, because, like, yeah, Heated Debate's only creatures. Yeah, Inspiration can hit the face, but it is an uncommon. I guess I die to a pump spell too if I don't make the block here, but I'm definitely not making the block. The best I can hope for if I just chump block here is hit him for 5, which is just not going to win this game. Alright, some ground creatures there, so they have blocks. They also do potentially have attacks against us as well. Is there any way to win here? We hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There is. So Zephyr Boots give our spirit flying. Buff all attacking spirits here. Oh my god, okay. Very close game to start off the Strixhaven drafts. Down to 2 there in a very close race. That was a very nice game. Very nice little back and forth we had there. We were both really racing each other. That +2/+2 counter sorcery actually was pretty great in that game. Turned that 2/1 flyer into a 4/3. Alright, we are on the play here. We do have that turn 2 Blood Age General to get things started. We've got Combat Professor later and multiple cards to bring things back from the grave. That seems pretty great all around. Another Blood Age General, sure. Now we've got something to play on turn 3. Arrogant Poet. Whenever it attacks, they can pay 2 life to give it flying till end of turn. That's actually pretty solid. That means late game they can use that to chip away at me for the final couple damage. If they have out-aggroed me. And in Witherbloom, you are going to have some life gain, and they are Witherbloom here, green-black. So, definitely can afford to pay life more than any of the other colleges can. Reckless Amplimancer, just another fine creature on the ground. Just keep trading in. We've got multiple cards bringing things back from the grave later, so we'll just keep getting aggro here. If they don't block, this is actually insane because it can give itself +1 here. That'd been really cool if they didn't. I'm going to do it anyway. Woo! 4/2. Sending in. Yeah, Combat Professor plus Blood Age General. Actually a pretty sick combo. I didn't even put 2 and 2 together until now. I got a 3/4 on the ground? Well, Combat Professors, let's just hit them in the sky then. We'll definitely take the 3 if that just attacks us here. We'll get another flyer out as soon as we hit 1 more mana, which is great. If we don't hit another mana, we do have an Illustrious Historian that can trade with the Spring Main Servant and then come back as a token later. So that seems solid. Mortality Spear, go ahead and destroy 1 of the flyers. Still got 1 left at least. Dump all our stuff on the field here. Have some blockers available. Unfortunately, the returned past color cannot bring back our combat professor, but it can bring back our Blood Age generals. It's interesting. I'll go for that there. And just take 3, although I could put another counter on Combat Professor here by blocking with Star Pupil. Probably better to just leave it for later here. When it dies, bring it back? Is that what that does? No, search for a smaller card from their deck. So they get a 2 mana card now. Uh-oh. Pretty good when you have the 2 mana rare creature to follow up that. That's kind of scary here. Yeah, by holding on to the Star Pupil here, we are chipping away for more damage, because we're not going to block anything with Combat Professor right now. So if they have an instant or sorcery here, if they have an instant, they can make this a 3/3 at instant speed if I try to block it with my first striker. Wow, and they do have enough mana now to just start doubling the counters as soon as they Magecraft some onto that. They have 6 mana on board. This is a really scary rare. Just the 3/4 coming in. At this point, I could see throwing the Star People counter onto the Lorehold Pledge Mage, so Combat Professor can buff that up to a 4/3 First Strike Vigilance attacker. Should be pretty hard for Dragon's Guard Elite to be able to trade up into that, although I guess a single pump spell would do it, even without the +1/+1 counter. Yeah, I like making Lorehold Pledge Mage potentially a 4/3 First Strike Vigilance attacker, because that can definitely attack into Mage Hunter at the very least if they ever hold that back. I don't really like putting any other counters on the Combat Professor because they're already definitely trying to kill that thing. When enters the battlefield, return an instant sorcery from your grave to the top of their library. Yeah, so they're just gonna use the Mortality Spear again to kill the Combat Professor here. We've got a Sudden Breakthrough here to give First Strike till end of turn and get a treasure. That would also give more power to the Pledge Mage. That seems solid. We are just going to give that Vigilance again. It's a much better blocker, especially with Sudden Breakthrough at its side. 5/6, we could hit for 7, 8, 9, and have the treasure token ready for next turn. So we put him to 2 life, and next turn we know we can cast a Pillar Drop thing. I think I'd still rather use Sudden Breakthrough on blocks, although I guess they could Mortality Spear my Pledge Mage. If they do that, they hit for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's fine if they don't have a blocker. Yeah, I'll just save. I think I'm saving for, well, yeah, I think I'm saving for blocks. Still hit them down to 5 here, so they're still pretty low. I'm just going to pass turn here. Interesting. Well, now if I want to cast something, I have to Sudden Breakthrough right now. It's a little unfortunate, but I'm going to do it because we really do need to get some more cards going here. Just target something that they're not going to want to... like do anything special with. I'm not going to target one of my own creatures because then they can like counter this. And then I don't get the treasure token anymore. Because if I target my Lorehold Pledge Mage, they can just shoot the Pledge Mage. I don't get my treasure token anymore. So that's why I targeted their own thing. Just because we're not getting any value out of it anyway. Now we get to cast Past Caller instead. Seems pretty great. I think that we just give Pledge Mage +1 Vigilance and send in here. They can block with Dragon's Guard as a 3/3, so they could block like 3/4, 3/3 here, because they do this at instant speed to kill the Professor. Alright, well, this is pretty bad. But this is what we knew was coming here. Unfortunately, they did use it before I went to combat, so we don't get to attack with Pledge Mage as a 4-power creature. So we can't attack into the Mage Hunter. Yeah, the only block they would make is they'd block it with Mage Hunter, and they're at a low enough life total, they're not gonna just let themselves die to like a pump spell here. So Pillar Drop Rescuer, we can pick up the Sudden Breakthrough. Or no, Pillar Drop can't pick it up. The Returned Past Caller can pick it up. Yeah, I think we play the bigger card here. We're trying to get there in the sky. So we get to pick up a Blood Age General, or we get to pick up the Breakthrough. I think the Breakthrough's just better because we're trying to get there in the sky, so then we can first strike kill the Biblioplex Assistant. But now we really have to worry about the Dragon's Guard Elite, because that gets to turn into a 4/4 even if they have nothing else to play, and then after that turn it'll turn into a 6/6. So on, so on. It gets very, very big. Spring Main Servant again, gain a couple life. They're up to 7 now. And an Honor Troll, vigilant creature here. So this is like the only time they can attack well with the Mage Hunter. Looks like they do not want to here, though. They only have one creature that can block the flyer, and we can use the Sudden Breakthrough to get it out of the way and then pick up another flyer here, so we hit for 6 next turn. Yeah, that seems like the play to me. So we have 5 flying power here, so if we hit for 1 more damage, we will get them. So we would have actually won if we had Sudden Breakthrough during our combat step instead of waiting till their turn for blocks at this point. I don't have any more mana up, so I don't really need the 1 mana card, although I like the ability to move the counter to one of my flyers instead. Yeah, I think I do like Star Pupil better than anything else here. I can also play it for only once. That means next turn I could play Star Pupil and a 3/2. Let's see how they choose to attack here. Oh, they just go to main phase 2. Alright. See if they have any removal for their flyers. We get 1 more blocker next turn. We just get a Star Pupil, so we only have 2 creatures to block with because the Historian brings its Spirit out tapped. So I'm debating whether we need to attack with 2 or just 1. Okay, they're gonna just exile the past color anyway, so we're definitely going to attack with the Pillar Drop Rescuer. Ooh, Professor of Symbology, actually great here. Yeah, we'll see what our options are here, but I know we have good options for sure. Exile non-land permanent, create a 3/2. 2 counters on a creature, give it Vigilance. That actually seems maybe the best here. Just make it a 4/4 flying Vigilance. And we have enough mana to still play Star Pupil. It's actually just an expanded anatomy game because that puts them dead in 2 turns instead of 4. Yeah, that's massive. That is actually so good here. Pledge Mage does kill something on blocks here because it is 4 power first strike. So they can double block with 2 things, but I get to kill at least like the Mage Hunter here. Worst case scenario. Yeah, if they double block Honor Troll and Mage Hunter onto it, we first strike Mage Hunter and Honor Troll doesn't kill it. So actually they have to let us kill like Dragon's Guard Elite in order to kill Pledge Mage. Yeah, that's actually just a great attack here. Definitely kill that Dragon's Guard Elite. All right. Well, I am really interested in this format so far. I'm only 2 games in, and I already feel like, I mean, ironically enough, I'm learning a lot because this is already playing out. Some very interesting games, a lot different than how I thought the cards would work. Like the expanded anatomy thing, the just +2/+2 counters and vigilance. That card, I thought it looked like, that's just whatever. But that was like the lesson of the game for my opponent in game 1 and the lesson of the game for me in game 2 here. So I already think I highly undervalued that card. That's actually has been very solid here. So now we are heading into round 3. 2 wins off. Pretty great start for our first Strixhaven draft. We are keeping this hand. We've got Lorehold Pledge Mage into Combat Professor if we draw any land. We even got a Professor now for turn 2, so we go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, which seems great. For this early in the game, I think I just want another creature, right? Like just a 3/2 here that we can definitely cast. We don't really want the elemental summoning. We need 2 red sources to be able to cast it, so we're very, very far away from that. We can either expand an anatomy, hold on to a reduce to memory, or just grab a spirit summoning. That's the only thing we know we'd be interested in doing sometime soon. Although I guess we have multiple 3-drops already. We have Pledge Mages and Combat Professors, so neither anatomy or spirit something is something we'll cast immediately. I think we actually want to discard a card and try to draw a red source here. Discard the Historian, try to draw into our mountain. We did draw into the mountain there, which is nice. So yeah, that was interesting too. I love how the lesson cards let you look at all of your lessons and see, is any of this actually good here? And if it's not, then you just get to rummage, you get to discard and draw. Lesson has been fantastic so far. So what is this? 2 mana, 2/1 that comes with a pest. Yeah, that's pretty great. Or 3 mana, 2/1 that comes with a pest. Okay. Let's get first striker out here. I don't think I'm attacking into that field right now with a 2/2 haste. I just trade for their 2/1. Don't really want to do that. But first strikers should attack in well. Definitely a huge fan of Professor of Symbology so far. It was a great draw in the early game here to make sure we hit our lands, make it to our big spells like Combat Professor, Pillar Drop Rescuer. And last game it was an incredible draw in the late game because it just draws your best late game lesson for the situation. At 4 mana here, I don't think there's any reason to do anything but Combat Professor unless we really want to play around removal. But if they remove the Professor, it's a little sad, but we'll be okay. We can cast a Pillar Drop Rescuer, bring back Professor of Symbology, and then we're definitely learning a lesson that time instead of just discarding and drawing. Dueling Coach. Put a +1/+1 counter on a creature for 5 mana, tap it, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature with a counter on it. So it very slowly gets bigger. For now, it's just a 3/3. But we could even just kill that right now with Ingenious Inspiration. And we learn a card off of this? Yeah, this seems swell here. I want to get rid of that before it can get any more counters. And I'm only going to have 2 mana up after this, so I can't immediately cast whatever I grab. But I can't cast Elemental Summoning until I hit another red, although it is my biggest lesson. I think I just take a 3/2 here that I know I'll be able to cast this game. Spiteful Squad, 2/2 Death Touch. When it dies, move its counters to something else. Alright, doesn't help in the sky, which is good for us. Because that is our game plan today. With 3 combat professors in our deck. Pillar Drop, pick up our Professor, grab another lesson. We are learning all over the place today. Both in-game and non-meta. Just IRL. Definitely not going to block that. I'll just take 2 every turn. Definitely does not outpace my flying damage here. Although there is an Owlin Shield Mage there, so now I Professor, grab the thing that gives +2/+2, so I can still attack into that thing well. I think that's our best play. Yeah, seems like our best choice here. I could also just turn it into a 3/2 on the ground with Reduced to Memory. Turn it to a 3/2 on the ground, we're hitting for 5 in the sky every turn. We trade the 3/2 into our 2/1. Actually, we're okay to go down a card and do that here. As long as it keeps the skies clear. And technically we don't even go down a card, we're even on cards here, because it sort of only cost us Professor of Symbology, because Professor of Symbology drew us the Reduced to Memory, so we just spent Professor of Symbology to completely kill the flyer if we end up trading there. Fortunately, there is a Zephyr Boots from our opponent, so now they can hit us with that, draw a card, discard a card, and then move the Zephyr Boots onto another creature to have blockers up as well. So Zephyr Boots, pretty great here. They might just not attack here, though. That way they can have a Death Touch blocker. We'll see. Okay, drawn to a land. We actually are starting to accrue quite a bit in our graveyard for Tome Shredder to get big, which is nice, but they do have a Death Toucher out, so they'll probably trade into the Pillar Drop Rescuer here, right? I think we go to combat before we choose anything else. We'll offer the trade with the Pillar Drop. They do get to move the counters to another one of their blockers to make it an even better flying blocker, which is annoying. They can make it 4 toughness on that 3/2 token. And then that'll be a 5/4 flyer to block our 3/3 flyer. Yeah, that is actually pretty annoying. I think we just need to make our field as aggressive as possible now, so we're going to make a 3/2, get our Tome Shredder out, and start shredding things to make this thing a really big attacker. We can even give it Vigilance with the Combat Professor coming up. What on earth is this? Tapped creatures get +1/+0, untapped get +0/+1. Whenever you attack, untap each creature you control, then tap. Oh no, it gives the whole field Vigilance. That's actually terrible for me here. Now they have a 5/5 flying Vigilance. Oh, it looks like they're not attacking with it, though. Oh, wait, they don't untap unless... Actually, I don't know. Whenever you attack. So I think if they attack with anything, it does untap everything. Star Pupil is the draw. Play 2 3-mana cards here. Go pretty wide. We can give Tome Shredder Vigilance so it can attack in and trade with that 5/5, which seems good to me. Although eventually it can attack in and not trade, but we have more than enough other creatures to like break through if we can just get rid of that 5/5. Yeah, that seems worth it to me. Just give Vigilance here. Trade for the 5/5 if they block there. And they're just gonna chump, gain a life here. Let's get our board wider then, so we can crack around. I kind of like the Pilgrim. Draw planes. Lower our land count in deck, and now we can cast 2 more spells here. Now our board's really wide for just a send all in next turn. They are sending in with their big flying vigilant creature here now. Unfortunately, we go down to 9 here. We're dead in 3 turns to that. I don't think it's worth the block yet. So they have 2 blockers. If we attack with everybody, they go, okay, 3 blockers, 2 mana up and 3 blockers. They block this 3 power creature, this 3 power creature, this 3 power creature. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're definitely not dead. Blood Age General. Attacking spirits get +1/+0. We've got 1, 2 spirits right now. Historian gets another spirit. Lorehold Apprentice is interesting. If we draw into an instant or sorcery, that'll be pretty great. Spiteful Squad is really bad for us now. Now we can't attack him with the Tome Shredder well, because they'll just block with Spiteful Squad and make their Vigilant Flyer even bigger. So I attack all, I lose like 3 creatures. And I hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I put even more creatures out. So they go down to 3, and I just dump more creatures on this board. It's possible they can crack back for lethal if I can't hold a flyer up here. So I'm still not so sure about the all attack. It's got to be our best hope, though, because like if we don't do it, they just slam us for 5 2 turns in a row, right? This might pan out really poorly for us, we'll find out. Like, if we can block everything they have on the ground, they just hit us for 7 in the sky, we go to 2, and then we just kill them next turn. Yeah, they go to 2 life here. So if they can't just lethal us next turn, they're very dead. This would be really safe if we had like a flyer to play here. Unfortunately, we don't. We might have been able to chip in for enough damage without attacking with the Professor, so that we can still leave a flyer up. Oh, interesting. They put the counters onto Augusta. Well, now I feel even safer here. Oh, I can only cast 1 of these. Uh-oh. That was a little risky, a little scary there. Yeah, I'm still on only 1 red mana. I didn't even take that into account, so I'm only playing 1 blocker here. Yeah, that is a much riskier play than I gave it credit for then. Because now we're just dead to a removal spell. Their creatures do get +1 power while they're tapped. Yeah, if we lose this game, we definitely deserve to lose. I think the attack would have been ideal. Just don't attack with the flyer anymore then. I just didn't realize I couldn't play 2 creatures here. Attack with everything except the flyer. And then if they have the removal spell on the flyer, then they just hit us for potentially 8 off of their flying thing. Otherwise... Otherwise, we can just block that. Alright, it looks like we may have gotten there anyway, but definitely a much riskier line than we should have taken at the end. Ooh, another combat professor, that's pretty solid. Just dump some dorks on the board, make it an even safer attack, I guess. Alright. The 3-0 start with our Lorehold Strixhaven draft. You love to see it when the stars align and you get to draft your college of choice. I'm super pumped about this format. Super pumped about this format. This is going to be a fun one. I already really like Lesson and Learns. And obviously, I was always a fan of Ravnica. I really liked Guilds of Ravnica, Ravnica Allegiance, all of that. And this does have that feel as well, with the just 5 different 2-color pairs you can draft from, rather than just like every color pair being equally represented. Well, this is a fantastic start. We have both our colors. We got Historian turn 2 into Inspiration turn 3 if we need to kill something immediately. If not, we have like Tome Shredder getting out there, hasting out. Really solid hand. Opponent starts off with an island. They're on some form of blue deck. Quandrix and Prismari being the guilds of choice. Looks like they are Prismari. Do I offer the trade with our Historian? Because then we can both just like get them back later. Yeah, because I'll get mine back a little before them. I guess I could Ingenious Inspiration here if I want to get really aggressive, but we only have the 1 creature out anyway. I definitely don't want to Tome Shredder and attack into a 2-1 with that. Although I could just play my first striker here, and that can attack in freely. Yeah, we'll just dump out the first striker. That can send in against that. It can also block it very well. Alright. Do I want to Ingenious Inspiration now? Because now I'll actually be hitting for 5 off of the attack. Plus I learn a card for next turn, just play a 4/4 next turn. Yeah, that seems pretty great, actually. Gives us a really good play next turn. We kill that, and now next turn we get to play a 4/4. This turn we get to play a Star Pupil. Definitely grabbing the Elemental Summoning here. We've got enough red mana for it. Alright, they're just going to learn at instant speed here so that they can draw some lesson that they need in this position and grab their own Elemental Summoning. Fair enough. They are 2 mana away from it, though, so we'll see what they're doing on turn 4. Pillar Drop Ward in a 1/5 reach. That is going to be a really annoying blocker for us. Even flyers don't attack into that very well. Yeah, that is really annoying against our 2/1s. We could play we can attack in with Pledge Mage, but they can just drop or block it with that 1/5. Yeah, we have no good attacks now. So I suppose just play Elemental Summoning. Next turn we get to play our Combat Professor and give our 4/4 Vigilance and +1. So then the 4/4 attacks is a 5/4. Pillar Drop Warden, definitely a really solid house Like a really nice defender for Prismari decks, it looks like here. Because it just comes out really big blocker, and then in the late game they return an instant or sorcery from the grave to hand to recast it, and Prismari has a lot of big instants and sorceries. So I don't love offering the trade between our 4/4s here. It's also the only way I'm attacking. I do clear like one of their things out. We do have 2 instant sorceries in grave, so Tome Shredder is going to become a 4/4 on its own. Yeah, I'll offer the trade here. If we get that out of the way, we get to cast a Tome Shredder, give it Vigilance with Combat Professor, so it's a 3/2 that can attack him with Vigilance. It turns into a 4/3. Still not quite big enough to kill the Pillar Drop Warden on its first attack, but only 2 turns away from being able to attack in. Definitely a lot closer without the 4/4. A lot closer to attacking, I should say. This is interesting here. They're not just slamming down the block. We'll see what their plan is here. Alright, they are going to go for the block. Starting to get pretty worried here because Prismari does have some powerful, just like 7 mana instants and sorceries. So the more mana they get, the more scared I am. Even without that, they have a solid board here. This Pillar Drop Warden can bring back an Elemental Summon and get them another 4/4 if they want. And if they don't want to do that, they still just can sit behind a 1/5 reach. Fuming Effigy. That does attack well with a Combat Professor out. Yeah, and it works really well with Tome Shredder. We deal damage to them every time we use Tome Shredder's ability. Yeah, I like just dropping down the Fuming Effigy here and passing the turn, potentially. Although, I guess I do get to attack with my Lorehold Pledge Mage and my Combat Professor now that they only have 1 blocker. It's probably safer to do that while they are... or while we are not tapped out, because then they might be worried about an instant here. Although, if they didn't do anything, we need to be worried about an instant too. Is it worth the risk to send these 2 in? What are we even risking? They have 6 mana up? What, like a heated debate? All the instants I can think of would just kill our creature anyway. I guess we do have the 2 mana +2/+0 First Strike spell, so if they have that, they would kill our Combat Professor with their Pillar Drop Warden. Yeah, they're like totally untapped here. Maybe they're just planning on using the Historian. Like, this doesn't seem like the kind of deck that would have +2/+0 First Strike, although we haven't seen their whole deck. They could have a lot of like these 2/1s and stuff for an aggressive early game. We'll see if they have the +2/+0 First Strike here. No. Okay, so we do just get to sneak in a few damage. Very nice, and we'll just drop down our Fuming Effigy now. I suppose they are just exiling for a 3/2. So Star People, I sent them to Star People as well, just because even if Star People dies, it's going to keep just as much power and toughness on our board by moving its +1/+1 counter over to something else. So we probably could have been attacking with that earlier as well. It's really not a big deal if People dies. Historian dying is okay once we're going to have the extra mana to bring it back, but that's not going to be for quite a while here, I think. Because for now, like next turn, we're going to do like Tome Shredder, Lorehold Apprentice. Like, I think if we attacked with Historian there, they just block Historian and let those through. Like, they take 1 more damage to get rid of Historian, so it doesn't attack anymore for a while. The 3-2 is good at blocking our Fuming Effigy. That would be a trade up. Professor of Symbology, how I love thee. What do I even grab right now? Can exile one of their things and just make them have a 3-2. I think that is a really solid card, but I don't know if we need to do it right now. We can use it to grab our thing that gives +2/+2 and Vigilance till end of turn. Make our Combat Professor like a 5/5 flyer every turn. Although I don't really want to stack everything onto that one card, as I said before. That might be the best on our first striker, even. Yeah, I'm actually okay with going for the Professor here. Make our Lorehold Pledge Mage just an insane attacker. Our other options are to grab a 3-2 or get rid of their reach creature with reduced memory, but they can sacrifice it in response and get something back, so reduced doesn't seem great. Although I guess they don't get the 3-2 if they sack it in response. No, Expanded Anatomy definitely seems like the choice here. Throw it on the Pledge Mage. Throwing it on the Star Pupil is cute, because then if the Star Pupil dies, it moves its counters over. Heated Debate. Well, I'm actually 100% okay with that, because that means that Combat Professor gets to stay around. We're not really down a card with that, because we just got it off of Professor, so we still got a 2-1 out of the Professor. Fuming Effigy does just trade for the 3-2, so I still don't love that attack. But they're down to 12 here, and if I get the 3-2 out of the way, Tome Shredder starts attacking alongside Combat Professor. But Tome Shredder also damages them alongside Fuming Effigy. I am going to send it in here. Might have been better to just plus up the Star Pupil and then only send in Star Pupil because we're like super okay with that dying. And then that way they can't like block with the 3-2, but I guess they could just block with the 1-5, so it doesn't matter if we plus Star Pupil. Never mind. Just trying to check every line and see what's the best. I'm going to throw the counter on the Professor of Symbology. The reason is so that we have multiple creatures with more than 1 toughness, so we have multiple creatures that can attack into Pillar Drop Warden. So we sneak some damage in every turn. And we're putting it on Symbology instead of Historian, because if we put it on Historian, then we're less likely to be okay with Historian dying, and we should be okay with Historian dying, because it has a good ability in the grave. Another Combat Professor, that is very solid. Now we're just going to be attacking in the sky every turn with these two. Yeah, I think it's our best play. Send in with the Professor to trade with the 4-4. Send in with the, oh, they're both Professors. Send in with the Professor to trade in with the 4-4. Send in the other Professor so that if they don't want to take the trade, they take more damage. Double Combat Professor here, so they pump each other and get in for a little bit of damage every turn. I can have one of them pump the Tome Shredder. Which seems fantastic. I can actually double pump the Tome Shredder, so they can't block that without Pillar Drop dying. And the Combat Professors are pretty safe here. Combat Professor's so good. Can't believe we got 3 of this in our first draft. That's so nice. I'll hit for another damage here, might as well. We're not really looking to block a ton. Right now we're still at 20. I don't know what kind of wrath they could have, but just in case, I'll hold on to one creature here because we're like so handedly winning on board right now. Oh dear. Oh no. Blue Sun's need to draw 6. The Mystical Archive is going to be a fun time because there's just always going to be like a selection of cards you are literally never expecting. I was not expecting the casual draw 6 cards in the end step there. If they draw enough removal, they could stabilize off of that, but it's also possible we can still push through that much card draw here. We'll see how things pan out. But I'm definitely scared now. Oh my god, Crackle with power to deal 10 to 2 targets? Alright, well. It does make me feel stupid. I wasn't expecting them to draw 6 cards, so I didn't think that Lorehold Apprentice on board would change anything, but it would have here. We would have hit in for more damage this turn, which would have been good. I can buff Combat Professor and attack in with both. That way, if they want to kill our Historian here, they have to take 3 and go to only 2 life. And then I'll just make a 3/2 next turn. Yeah, so the Historian might even get in here and just do 2. Because they're so low. Nice. Now we just get to make our board wider then, without losing a creature. Prismari Pledge Mage, get some more blockers out here. That one's a 3/3, Stormkill Narnist. That gives them treasure tokens whenever they Magecraft, whenever they cast instants and sorceries. Yes, it also gets more power for each instant and sorcery. And they've drawn Expressive Iteration as well to draw the best card out of their top 3. They also get to draw 1 temporarily by exiling it, so it's kind of like draw the 2 best cards out of their top 3, which is really nice. Although I guess one of them was just a land, so not insane there. But we don't know what they drew out of the top 3 to put into their hand. Maybe a Spectacle Mage here that gives them another flying blocker. They can double block our Combat Professor now to kill it, which is very not good for us. Ooh, Sudden Breakthrough actually makes things really good. We get to poke them for 1 damage with Lorehold Apprentice's ability now, and if they go for a crazy block on our Combat Professor, we can kill like their Pillar Drop Warden finally with our first strike, and then their 2/2 flyer can't block a 3/3 flyer well. Yep, we definitely can't attack it on the ground well, so we're just setting in with Combat Professor. They probably try to do the double block here, so we get to kill Pillar Drop. And we get to tap our Historian to put him to 2 life now. That is a spirit, right? Oh no, it's a human. Alright, well that isn't as good as I thought it was, but it's still definitely good to get that 1/5 reach out of the way finally. Fortunately, we don't have any actual spirits on board. This just makes a spirit after it dies. Still completely new to the format, obviously. This is literally my first draft ever. So, did not see that interaction there. Just sort of assumed this was a spirit because it brings a spirit, but I guess it makes sense that it's not a spirit until it dies and comes back. Because that is what spirits are. Academic Dispute to force the block with the Combat Professor. That'll do it, and that'll get that Combat Professor out of here. And we are forced into a pretty bad block here, but I can block with Historian as well to at least kill that, and then we make a 3-2 from our Historian. I guess their blockers are all just 2-2s here, but they have a 4-4 in hand because they learned a 4-4 out, so yeah, 2-1's not going to be able to attack in well regardless, so I'd rather like turn it into a Spirit here for Lorehold Apprentice reasons, and get this this Pledge Mage off the board at least. Actually, they can only do 3 damage, so they only kill Combat Professor. So it just doesn't matter. We just get a free kill there by blocking with another creature. Another Pillar Drop, oh boy. That's not good at all. Definitely playing our lands as we draw them at this point, because our biggest out would be our 4-2 flyer that brings an instant back from grave. We can just bring back our spell to deal 3 damage to them. That is our biggest hope at this point. But that Blue Sun Zenith definitely is looking to have turned things around for them. Yeah, because they get to re-pick up their Mythic and deal 10 to 2 targets again. With the Pillar Drop. Oh, they just do 20 now. Never mind. Oh my god. That was kind of the dream Prismari deck. Those decks are all about controlling the board long enough to cast some really big instants and sorceries, and they had a Blue Sun Zenith into the 20 damage X spell. They even got to cast it twice with the Pillar Drops. That was brutal. We certainly could have played that one out better. I don't know if we would have won in the end, but the biggest play was just holding because I was scared of a Wrath. Had I just played that 2-2 out there, we could have hit for 2 more damage. We could have had them at 1 if we had played that. So if we missed a damage at any point earlier in the game, then we may have been able to close it out before they could just do insane busted things with multiple X-mana mythics there, Blue Suns and the iterative explosion thing. So that will be our first loss. We're 2-1 or 3-1, I don't remember. I think 2-1 here to start off. Definitely going to play our flying vigilance thing that puts counters on the rest of our creatures first. That way every creature we play for the rest of the game is even bigger. With expensive cards like Past Caller in hand, I do want to start things off with Pilgrim of the Ages rather than our Lorehold Apprentice here. Get more lands. Make sure we can cast Combat Professor next turn. Send in for 1, and make our Pilgrim a 3-2. Tome Shredder from our opponent. If they send in, we'll just take it. If not, I think we offer the trade with the Pilgrim because it can come back from the grave later. Yeah, I would rather give the +1 to the Shale here when I go to combat, because they're pretty likely to block Pilgrim and trade here because I have such an aggressive start. So this just definitely gets in for 1 more damage. Alright, and we'll go ahead and just put a counter on Combat Professor here. Our opponent is on Prismari. Another Tome Shredder is the play. Everything we have right now has flying. We could Symbology into +2/+2 Vigilance. That could be good. They both have Vigilance already, though, so we can also Symbology into just playing 2 creatures out this turn, which is great. Yeah, that actually seems pretty awesome. Let's just get a couple creatures out, get a counter on both of them. The more counters we can spread around with Shale's ability, the more absurd it is. Pigment Storm, kill our biggest flyer and hit us for 1 there. 3-2 trades with Tome Shredder, everything else can get in here. Then we play a Fuming Effigy, just play the biggest creature we can. Seems good to me. I guess they can exile it, trade up into the 4-3 here. But we still have more than enough creatures and are pressuring them pretty well to be sending in for trades like this. Another Pigment Storm to kill that. We have 4 damage on board. We put them to 4. Returned Pass Color's great here. We pick that Spirit back up. And get a really big flyer out. All right. That game was a pretty ridiculous one, basically all in on Shale's ridiculous ability there to really go off on the place. So we were 3-1, so we are now 4-1. No matter what happens here, I'm getting 1,400 gems back out of this. It does cost 1,500 gems to enter a Premier Draft, so I am definitely happy whatever happens now. And I'm also just happy with the format right now. It's some crazy stuff. Definitely happy with Lorehold, my college of choice. This deck is pretty sweet. Mainly happy with Combat Professor, to be honest. This isn't the greatest hand that we've had, but it's certainly not a mulligan. Just a couple 2/2s and a 3-mana card. Or, I mean, a couple 2-mana cards. This one not necessarily a 2/2. Playing against red, white, and black here, Lorehold and Silverquill. And our opponent starts with a Campus Guide. They may search for a basic, reveal it, put it on top. They chose not to, which means they probably have a decent amount of lands in hand here. That is a 2/1, so it will be trading off with creatures with 2 toughness or less, so I'd rather play the creature that I'm more okay with trading off in the early game here. Although, I don't think I'm taking that trade immediately just because I also have a first striker to play next turn. That can still attack and block into that thing, as well as into that 3/2. And now we do have a Combat Professor for turn 4. That should be great. Actually, probably should have attacked with the Historian there, because I'm okay trading up my 2/1 into a 3/2. Professor of Symbology from our opponent. And the choice is to grab Elemental Summoning, so they have a 5-mana 4/4 coming up next turn. We've got Sudden Breakthrough now, which is solid. Although I think I am just on the Combat Professor plan. They have to block with everything and let us kill 2 creatures to kill our Pledge Mage. If they block all 3, they can kill it. It's a 2-for-1 trade here, so I'm pretty fine with it. Kill that and kill the... I don't know if I want to kill the Professor or the Campus Guide first. Probably the Campus Guide. There are ways to bring things back from the grave, and I would rather them be able to recast a Campus Guide than recast a Professor. I think there's more ways to get things back from the grave than there are to flicker. They may have a first strike spell here, though. In which case it would be still a 2-for-2 trade, so we're still fine. Alright, now they're getting just a 3/2 back out of it. Alright. Basically just spent a card on another 3/2 to replace the current 3/2. So we're still not, like, down in that transaction. Killian, Ink Duelist, everything that targets creatures costs 2 less to cast now. Even spells that target my creatures, so their removal spells are cheaper as well, which is pretty crazy. I'm fine with that trade now that we no longer have a first striker. I'm super fine with that trade. We've got 5 mana here. We can get our 3/2 out. Does come to play tapped. So we get a tapped 3/2, or we just play a 2/2 and hold up our first strike spell here. We know that the only thing in their hand is a 4/4. So they don't have any instant speed tricks, so being able to first strike block something here actually does seem pretty great. So I think I'd rather play the Blood Age General and have the potential for a sudden breakthrough to do a lot of work here. Maybe kill their Killian, maybe kill their Tome Shredder. Although I do think it's more important to kill Tome Shredder than kill Killian here, Because if I kill Killian, like, I can also just kill Killian with any 2/2 as long as I have 2 blockers. But Tome Shredder is going to be harder to kill, and it's going to get bigger throughout the game. They have another Sorcery Engrave already. They're going to have another one after this turn. Go for the Tome Shredder block here. And we'll see what they've just drawn here. They have drawn card for turn. It could be an answer. Looks like it is not, so we will kill that Tome Shredder. Just take the 2. Draw another Blood Age General. Thanks to the treasure token, we have enough mana to cast that, as well as make a 3/2 here. It can attack as a 4/2 here, so it probably just trades for the Professor. But we've got 2 more creatures in hand, so I'm okay with the trade. If they try to block with the 4/4 here, we do trade up into that, which is really good. They probably won't, though. And if they don't block here, we can hit them for 4, which is also pretty good. But I'll probably just let it hit them for 3 and then hold it as a blocker. Alright, Professor of Symbology, I'll take that trade. And get our Blood Age General out. Past turn, we'll take 6 here. Killian does have Menace, so I can't block it unless I have 2 blockers for it. Enthusiastic Study for 1 mana because of Killian's abilities, so they get some extra lifelink and draw a card with the Learn. Drawn to a 3/2. We've got a land here. We definitely can't afford to not hold up every blocker we have now, so we just give 1 creature menace and attack with only that creature from now on. Still like potentially holding on to just like 1 land here just because of like learn spells, but we do also have reanimation spells that cost a lot of mana, so it's debatable between those 2. I guess any... oh no. Yeah, I'm mega dead then. Lower hold command. Give their whole field +1/+0 indestructible haste, deal 3 to a target, gain 3, kill combat professor, make their whole field extremely lethal. We can't make any relevant blocks. Yeah, lower hold command is a very, very strong card at this point in the game here. So we're just extremely dead. We have to block 2 creatures here, so we have to just lose our creatures for no value. And they gain 3 life as well. Now we just have a single 2/2. That is mega game. Lore hold command, definitely a big chunky instant there. Can do some massive things at any point in the game, really. The other options on it, Arena's weird, so it didn't let me see them. It just let me saw what they chose to do. The other options on it, you can also make like a 3/2 off of it. So even on turn 5, like just in the mid game, like not as a late game top deck, it's incredible because you just flash in a 3/2 and deal 3 to something, gain 3. So Lore hold command, definitely one of the best commands. Really, really nice card there. Gonna keep these 7. Shale is also a very, very nice card, and I'm certainly going to keep this hand for that. I'm actually debating whether I should play Star Pupil turn 1 or not. I'm actually not going to do it, because it is a really nice combo to get it out with 2 counters on it with Shale here. We're playing against Quandrix. This will be our first Quandrix deck that we're playing against, so I'm excited about that. Quandrix has some ramp, some card draw, as you can see from Zimone. She kind of shows off what Quandrix is doing. They also have fractal tokens, which kind of work with the whole ramp thing, because a lot of the fractal cards get like bigger in later in the game. So the fractal tokens are 0/0s with a bunch of +1/+1 counters on them. They have a card to make 1 and put a +1/+1 for each land on it, stuff like that. Right. And you're just going to pass turn here. I'll play my Star People pre-combat, so even if they kill Shale immediately, like if they kill Shale with an in-combat combat trick, I can still get a counter out of her. But I don't think I'm killing Zimone right now. I can let them just put their lands in hand into play. They're going to get at least one of them here. I'm not super worried about Zimone's ability unless they're like drawing cards off of her. So they do have the combat trick here to throw Shale back on top, so definitely glad I played Star People first. So we get that counter out of her. Or them. Actually, I have no idea what a Shale is. Quandrix Cultivator. Oh yeah, so they just got plenty of other ramp in hand, definitely. Not super worried about Inspiration on Zimone as quickly as possible, but it could be a choice now, because now if I Inspiration Zimone, I do stop them from drawing the cards. They are at the 4 mana to start drawing cards consistently off of her, which does seem powerful. Okay, I think I can play a somewhat slow game here. We've got a Learn card here. We've got a Draw Discard card here. Although Quandrix is going to be a more rampy strategy, so they're also going for a long game. I either kill Zimone, stop their card draw here, or I just play Combat Professor to start beating in next turn. Star People doesn't attack in well against a 3/4. I feel like they probably just played like a big spell next turn, so they're probably not going to do the draw next turn. So we can just like play out a creature for now. It's still probably early enough that Zimone's not doing much. Doesn't matter here, we're not going to attack a 3/2 into their 3/4. Although I guess I could put 2 counters onto Combat Professor, but again, that does play poorly into removal. Send in the Cultivator, no blocks here. So if they don't play another creature, or if they play one small enough to Inspiration, then I can still get in with the Pupil. Alright, yeah, I can get in with the Pupil here. It does cost 2 more mana to target their Flyer here. If I want to hit that, they're down to just 1 card in hand, so I think I'd rather kill their card draw engine than their Flyer. So I think we just shoot Zimone now. And we do have enough mana to just make a 4/4 next turn. Reckless Amplifier does get to attack as a 4/4, so that's kind of a scary creature. Don't think it's scary enough to like reduce to memory. Like we'd rather just trade our 4/4 into their 4/4, something like that. We're going to play a Shale here, so we could even play a 5/5 if we Elemental Summoning next turn. Yeah, I like Elemental Summoning here. Cast Shale. Buff the Star Pupil. We're fine with either trade that happens there. Are we fine with the Flyers trading? Combat Professor and Aerialist? With 1 card in hand, I guess I kind of am fine with that trade. It's not awesome, but it's not terrible. Yeah, I'm actually cool with any trade that happens here. Or are we going to trade both? I'm actually mildly worried if we trade both. That means they have something good in hand that we're about to see. Because they know I have a 4/4 coming up, so if they just trade both, then their field is a 3/4 against my 4/4 in Shale. If they don't have anything in hand to play around with. Alright, they did not trade both. They are holding on to that Reckless Amplimancer. That is going to be a good attacker alongside the Cultivator. I could block it with Star People to force the pump here so they can't cast anything else on me this turn. But I will lose the Star People to do that. But it turns Shale into a 3/3 Flying Vigilance. Yeah, I'm actually okay with that. I'd like to slow them down, make sure they don't get anything else on board here if they want to kill Star People without losing Amplimancer. Yeah, because now they only just have 1 mana up this turn. And we don't lose any power and toughness on our board from doing that. Yeah, just cast our elemental summoning. Again, we're going to do it pre-combat here. So if they do have something that matters only during combat, we can use our ability before Shale dies. Now we have a 5/5 blocker, which is great. I'm holding on to this land because we have the Zephyr Boots to draw and discard every turn. Eventually. So we can discard this land, draw a better card off of it. Oh dear. There's just like a big draw spell. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but I'm pretty sure it was just a big draw spell. 3 mana and X to draw X, so they just drew 3 cards. Yep, just a big draw spell, nothing else. I can't afford to equip a Zephyr Boots here and cast my 4-drop, but I could play my 2-drop and do it. I think it is important to get big creatures out right now, though, because that'll be a 5/4. That is a lot bigger than the Blood Age General. And then I can still equip to draw discard here. Can even equip to hit for 8, and then they're just dead next turn if they don't have answers to flyers. Yeah, that's huge. I think we go for that. Yeah, they're at 6 against a really big field here. We already have the boots to give flying, so I'm not super interested in the Stonerise Spirit, and it's 1 less power than the Blood Age General. Plus, Blood Age General potentially does hit other things. Although, Stonerise Spirit does work with Fuming Effigy to deal damage to our opponent even without attacking by using the 4 mana ability. So this is a really close choice between which one of these is moderately better. I guess I'll keep the Stonerise Spirit just for the potential to chip away at damage on our opponent without having to attack through anything. Frost Trickster, that'll help a lot. It's a flying blocker and it keeps one of my creatures tapped down. We'll just have to chump block our 5/5 though. The Amplimancer can go up to a 4/4, in which case it trades with Fuming Effigy. It also could just hit me down to 10 life. I think I'm okay to go to 10. I'd rather attack in with this Fuming Effigy. Especially because I can give it flying with Stonerise Spirit, so if they don't have any instant speed responses, with only 1 flying blocker, they do die. Oh dear. Another Frost Trickster. Well, now they don't. Now they certainly don't. Frost Trickster, kind of the best blue common creature. It's like the Combat Professor of Blue. Very, very good card. So we have the 3 Combat Professor deck. Our opponent seems to have the 3 Frost Trickster deck. Well, we do have that Stonerise Spirit. We do get to start hitting our opponent for damage without even attacking in. We have 5 cards in grave, so we hit them for 5 eventually off of that. If I attack with Fuming Effigy, they can block with just Quandrix Cultivator and Zimone, and that's a 1-for-1 trade. I only get to kill one of those 2. I don't think a Fuming Effigy attack is great here. Although if I give it flying, I do get to kill both Frost Tricksters if they go for a block. And they have to chump block at the very least. Yeah, we give flying here. I'm a little worried that I can just die on the crack back here if they have a good pump spell. We'll certainly find out what they have. But yeah, this forces them to block. And it forces them to block with a flyer. So if they can't kill us next turn, this is another one of those plays where if they cannot kill us on their next turn, we're very likely to kill them on our next turn. They're going to go for the double block trade here. Does make it less likely for them to be able to kill us. Our entire field can be flying very easily. I'm going to hold on to this land for our Zephyr Boots, so we might be able to draw into our 3 damage spell. If we haven't cast it yet. Oh, we have cast it already. We've been drawing this like every game, which has been nice. The Igneous Inspiration. Igneous Inspiration. That is a weird pun, because like you just see it and you immediately want to go with ingenious inspiration, because I think that's what they're trying to like pun on there. They have 5 mana for a pump here, so they can hit for 7. If I don't lose Stonerise Spirit, I think I'm more likely to kill them, so I'm just going to not block, and if they have an insane pump spell here, they can go ahead and kill me. Alright, they don't. Just a 3-1 flyer. They've got 1 blocker. We've got all this to attack with. We even drew into a pump spell. Send the squad in, and this should get them. Actually, they could have survived if we didn't draw the pump spell, so the pump spell was great here. That's actually a ridiculous draw. Oh my god. Lorehold squad, getting lucky again. Let's go, Lorehold squad. If you haven't heard, they are going to be doing a special event on Arena in the near future where everybody gets to represent their own college of choice, and all of the colleges kind of battle with each other. You score points for your college and see which one ends up winning. So I am absolutely on Lorehold's side for that event when that happens. Pretty excited about it. They haven't said a ton about what actual like formats we'll be playing and stuff, but we'll find out. Really hope that limited is an option for that. I'm drawing Shale all the time, and I'm pretty happy about that. I'm not complaining. Shale has been absolutely absurd. This is such a good modal card. I think both halves of this card are just incredible. So our opponent is on green with an Archway Commons. Not the kind of card you usually run in 2-color unless you have some really difficult mana costs, so I expect that they're splashing in for multiple colleges here. My best guess would probably be that they're going for like both of the green colleges, so Witherbloom and Quandrix, but we'll see. Casting our Lorehold Apprentice first here, just because it's the hardest one to cast, so if we don't get any more like red mana later, we could still cast a 2-mana red card and a 2-mana white card in the same turn. We could cast Stonerise Spirit and Blood Age General in the same turn, but we couldn't cast like Blood Age and Lorehold on the same turn later, stuff like that. They have a 2-3 blocker, doesn't block the 3-3 well right now. Do I want to start drawing cards? I think I just want to keep getting aggressive, get more creatures on this board. Do I want a 3-3 on the ground or a 2-3 in the sky? Another 3-3 on the ground is big enough to attack into Dusk Mage, so I'm solid with that. We also have boots to give flying, so drop down our Blood Age General here. Send everybody in. They are Witherbloom thus far. And an Essence Infusion on the Dusk Mage. Make it a 4/5 permanently and lifelink until end of turn, alongside the spell to have it deal damage equal to its power to a creature and gain 2 life when you kill that creature. So they just gained like a million life this turn. They gained 6 right there, and they're going to gain 4 more off of this hit. So that will help them race a lot. They go to 25. But we still have 2 6/6s on board. We have a Pillar Drop Rescuer to bring back Shale to our hand next turn. And we get to play a Combat Professor this turn for the combo with Blood Age General to give it Vigilance and have itself give itself more power, which is such a cute combo. So we do put them just right back down to 17 at the very least, but they have gained like 10 life last turn. That was very, very nice. Definitely not blocking with Combat Professor. We'll go down to 12 here. I still think we can outrace them, although Witherbloom does have a lot of life gain, as we saw last turn. They get a Amplimancer and a Witherbloom Apprentice out. So a couple 2/2s on the ground. They could double block one of our creatures to kill it here. Although if they double block the whatever we pump with Combat Professor, we do kill both of the creatures they blocked with. I think I want a Pillar Drop Rescuer to bring Shale back here. I guess Shale's actually not that great at this point, now that we've already cast our whole hand out, but Pillar Drop Rescuer as a 2/2 flyer still better than Stonerise Spirit, I think. I could play Stonerise Spirit and give something flying this turn, though. And then Stonerise Spirit gives something flying again next turn, so we hit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hit for a ton that way. Yeah, actually, giving like our whole field flying is really big. So I think we give Blood Age General flying this turn, so these two hit them for a lot of damage. Stone Rise Spirit's going to hit him next turn. We're going to have the 4 mana up to exile something. We'll hold on to this land to actually... Oops. I could have gotten for 1 more damage here. That was kind of just instinctual. I just clicked too quickly there, but I could have gotten for 1 more damage. But yeah, hold on to the land to discard it here rather than anything else. Although, yeah, drawing a Star Pupil, I'd rather discard a Star Pupil than the land here, so we can just Stone Rise Spirit and Pillar Drop Rescuer next turn. If I lose this game by 1 damage, that was entirely my fault. I have been talking about how fun the Blood Age General Vigilance combo is there, but then my brain just farted and we just clicked on Combat Professor like immediately for attacks. So we're like, give it Vigilance, whatever. Definitely should have given the Blood Age General Vigilance. Uh-oh. Mage Hunter's Onslaught is a massive, massive card. Really good common here. Destroy a creature planeswalker, and whenever something blocks this turn, its controller loses a life. So really good aggressive removal spell. Destroy something, and we lose life on every block we make this turn. It makes blocking really hard. I think that we kill Witherbloom Apprentice here, although if we kill Amplimancer, we know it's never doubling its power toughness. But if all they're doing is dumping their mana into doing that, then they're unlikely to come back. Well, we do hit them for 7 on the crackback right now. If we attack all, we go to 4 life by making this block, which is not ideal. Yeah, I think I would rather kill Witherbloom Apprentice, stop the life drain, than the Amplimancer. We can try to chump block the Amplimancer if it's going to get the plus power. Illustrious Historian is the draw. I think I attack for just 6 here and hold Stone Rise Spirit as a chump blocker, because if we just hit for 6 2 turns in a row, they'll die. So leave as many blockers back as possible. Draw and discard. Pilgrim of the Ages. Do I want to play that this turn? I could play Pilgrim and Historian, or I could play Pillar Drop Rescuer as my only card this turn. Stone Rise Spirit can give things flying, so I think I'd rather play 2 blockers and be very safe. So I get rid of the Pillar Drop here. Get as many blockers as we can onto this board. As long as I survive to next turn, I have several ways to probably just push in for lethal. We have the Zephyr Boots, we have the Stone Rise Spirit, both of those being able to give things flying. Overgrown Arch does not have reach, does it? It does not, and neither does Unwilling Ingredient, and there is the concession from our opponent. Alright. That was a really sweet Witherbloom deck. That turn where they used the removal spell and gained like 10 life, I was just like, oh my god. That was awesome. All right, so we are at 6 wins and 2 losses. Final boss material here. Win or loss, only 1 round left. We're getting 1,800 gems and 5 packs out of this draft, regardless of what occurs at this point. That is our minimum prize out, so a really nice start to the Strixhaven draft format. And we got to play my favorite college, the Lorehold. So this has been a great day altogether. Oh, just gonna grab a drink there before I absolutely destroy my voice. Whew. The anticipation is killing me. We even had to wait a half minute for this last game. All right, here we are. Final boss of our first Strixhaven Premier Draft. We've got a nice aggressive start. Double Blood Age General and the Zephyr Boots for the late game. Giving flying to everybody. As we saw, that can be a very powerful way to close out games. Our opponent is on blue. That is all we know so far. Double blue to start it off. And a flash spell. Interesting. Burrog Befuddler. 2/1 flash. When it enters the battlefield, the creature an opponent controls gets -1/-0 till end of turn. I'm not going to block here. Pretty sure we're likely to be more aggressive than our opponent is. And we are curving out pretty well here, which is great for an aggressive start. We'll start with our Pledge Mage here turn 3, and then Effigy turn 4. Opponent seems to be stuck on just 2 islands for now. Oh no, they might get stuck on these lands for a while. Ooh, I could play Shale and Blood Age General. I like that a little better than the Fuming Effigy here. We will make a 1-for-1 trade if I send in Blood Age General, so I guess I could Sudden Breakthrough as well and still cast Shale. Leave all of our creatures on board here. And I poke in for 1 more damage with the Pledge Mage's Magecraft ability, so I am fine with this. Get an extra damage in, leave all of our creatures on board. Get our Shale out for our creatures next turn. If we draw another land, we get to play both of these, Effigy and Blood Age General. And not a great way to end the draft, unfortunately, just an opponent who only drew 2 mana, didn't even manage to draw 2 colors, so not a great way to end it, but all in all, still a great record to end it. 7-2 for our draft run. The best possible draft run you can get, because you get the most value for your buck. You get every single reward you can possibly get 2,200 gems and 6 packs, and you get to play the maximum number of games possible, playing 9 games throughout the draft. So really great start to the Strixhaven format. I am really excited to dive back into this. As always, I will be drafting a ton of this format. There will be daily Strixhaven videos as long as I can keep it up. And yeah, at the end of the video, I would just like to say, as always, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm very excited to bring you more of this Strixhaven, so if you want to see more of that, just stick around and do everything you're doing. Like, comment, subscribe, let the YouTube algorithm gods know that you enjoy this content and want to see more of it, and yeah, that is going to end today's video, so thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you again tomorrow.